bringing that community alive, you essentially bring in the theme aspects that you've got. So before, you would have had an understanding of what themes, what topics are being engaging within your community, whether by the number of traffic, whether by the number of engagement, whatever metrics you use to understand how your community is engaging with that. But also, we all know that within communities, there are certain individuals that are like little characters within that community. Bring them with you on that journey, because as you were highlighting, don't forget about the bubbles, is amazing, passionate people around one theme, but more importantly, they're volunteers. They're volunteering their time. So essentially, whatever community you have, even if it's a big professional community, B2B environment, you're going to have all these guys that are engaging. That 1% of engaged individuals should play an important role and enhance that role that they play and give them that platform so that they can then come alive as well. And then that way, that's going to kind of bring in the rest of the audience to have that engagement. And I think some of those people are like engaging. For me, I'm just using an example of the Creo group that we all belong to. Lee Gimpo, who is kind of one of these kind of, he participates a lot in all discussions. He always writes a lot of the stuff. And I think there was one event where we all got together, and he's just actually fun to watch, to listen to, because it's just like, wow, really, really energetic. And that makes people happy. So bringing all those collaborators, bringing that, make sure that you capitalize on that 1%, on the people that are engaged, all those guys around the theme and all that passion, and bring in what you've established is the passion outside the themes around the community. Running is very popular. I know that like there's a big Strava group, for instance, with the events industry people. We're all kind of started posting this, so it's a big group of that. Music is actually an important one. Also, when everyone for whatever reason decides to make it lighthearted, and they decide either to dress as they're in there, like, or they do a contest of backgrounds, and that kind of livens up the environment. That is going to be good. And then I think that is such an important element, because combining all those elements is crucial. One thing that I also wanted to highlight is color, right? What I found amazing is that, don't forget the bubbles, being call it, doctors. I'm not saying doctors are boring or anything like that, but it's very.
I wouldn't say that.
No, I wouldn't. No, never. No, I didn't want to say that, but it's just basically when you say, membership organization of practitioners doing certain things. So what I liked about this community aspect is that they use color on the website. They use color, everything. To me, it struck me as one of the key members that was live during the day have a really nice, funky glasses. I love glasses, but it just kind of changes that sort of environment. Even the color that you might put or that you decide to incorporate in around this. I'm now looking at this Zoom session that we're having, and I'm just saying you and me and a black screen around it. I'm like, how could, we need to bring more stuff into it. So I just really wanted to highlight those aspects.
That's a really interesting point. Can I respond to that, Ricardo? Yes. Because I think, the brand creative for a digital event, the visual identity is so important. For an in-person event, we might be building stage sets and printing badges and, program guides and all sorts of things that actually, the sustainability, aspect of digital events is phenomenal. And so all of that has gone. Right, we don't have carpenters coming in and building a stage set. We're not printing lots of plastic stuff that's going to get ditched the next day. But we find that there is a huge amount of value in creating, exactly as you say, a really strong brand look and feel. And that's for a number of reasons. Of course, at the end of that delegate journey, the end of the lead time when you come to the event, it looks like all the marketing and activity you saw. But also, that is the immersive environment. When you are bringing the brand to life, it's actually how it looks and feels. So what does that kind of hero image on the front page look like? What does the backdrop of the website look like? How do all the videos have that strong brand look and feel? There's a really interesting question about, the video stage backdrops, because you're right, Zoom is black, and we are often working with clients where we'll create a video backdrop, a stage backdrop, and we'll design various different versions for one speaker and two speakers and slides and a speaker. But what's really important is that it communicates that brand subtly, but does not detract from the fact that what's really important is the speakers. But across the rest of the website, how the sessions and how the sponsor booths or other, activities might look, that's phenomenally vital. And there's another.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Sasha.
If I can just add one more thing, which is, when you were talking about the Strava and everything, what have we all learned in the last year? I mean, like you, I've been doing this for longer than I care to admit, but, decades. And so when I started out at Informa, quite a long time ago now, we thought of the delegates as, these are insurance delegates. They are men in suits. These are finance delegates. These are men in suits, some women in suits. We had this sense of our delegates and our market being other. And I think we've all felt this in recent years anyway, but I think the pandemic has really speeded this up, which is we want to speak to our participants as their authentic selves, not least because we've seen everybody in their home environment. Here I am in my office, which no one ever used to see, but now everybody's seen it. And so speaking to people as their authentic selves, whether that is, doing yoga sessions because that's what they really want, or going for a run, or they love music, that's part of what makes it really engaging. All that stuff about who you might be at work is slightly stripped away. And and that's what creates that emotional engagement. That we've stripped away the fact that I used to be an event professional who wore a suit when I was speaking at a conference. And now I'm Sasha Fries from the Business Narrative, and here I am in my home office, and you've all seen what it's like. And we want to take that really important emotional message and translate it into how we create our digital and hybrid events.
Yeah. Sasha, there's kind of three controversial aspects that we talked about it that I really, really want to hone in. Number one, most people are at this point in time struggling to foster engagement, connection within a live environment, right? So it doesn't become death by everything. You've made a statement to me when we were having this chat, whereas in fact, virtual is easier to foster that connection, to foster that engagement. Mm-hmm. And I really would like you to expand on that, because I find that probably you're one of the first persons that I've heard the comment saying, actually it's easier. So tell us in one way that's easier, mm-hmm. because I'm sure people today are going to value that. How is that mm-hmm. easier? And why are lots of people? What are lots of people missing out? Where are they failing?
Look, I'm not sure it's about where people are failing, but I think I would say in our experience, the complex digital and hybrid events that we've created respond to people's authentic selves, and also to diverse, to neurodiverse participants. So here's an example. I have a client who puts together, who leads an incredible organization, puts together phenomenal events. And they said to me, I really love all the fun of putting together the event, but actually when it gets to event day and I'm standing in that coffee hall and there's like 1,000 people here, I actually feel a bit nervous and I don't always love it. And I'm not the person who wants to go up to people and go, hello, I'm Sasha, which I'm happy to do that. 30 years of events, I'm always like introducing delegates to the coffee lounge. And so this client said to me, obviously I did it, but I found it difficult. And what's interesting is that, our in-person events, up until last year, increasingly respond to that. Anyway, we'll have quiet rooms, we'll have closed captioning at live events because there's lots of different kinds of people. But this client said to me, I actually really loved being in my home office and doing the speed networking. And I took more risks and I spoke to more people than I might have done at the in-person event. And so the way in which I think it's easier to foster engagement is different kinds of people. So we've had feedback from people who've said, I've got agoraphobia and I've actually not been able to go to this organization's event for the last 10 years. I have loved it online. I can't thank you enough for the gift that you've given me. So I think opening up the event to a diversity of different kinds of people, the communication can be easier. Right. If I saw, I don't know, let's say Ros Oxley, I don't know if Ros Oxley is, a guru of the events industry, who happened to be my first boss. So I would go up to her. But let's say I didn't know her, but I saw her at an event, and I'm in my first job and I've been working for a couple of years. But what I'd really like to do is go up to Ros Oxley and say, hey, Ros, I'm Sasha Fries, nice to meet you. Am I going to do that in person? Some people might, but very many people won't. Mm-hmm. But I will send her a message on a digital event. I will click on her name and say, hey, Ros, nice to see you on this event. We did an event for a scientific community. And one of the roundtables was around early career researchers. And so the big gurus who'd done the big stage presentations were sitting on something that looked like a Zoom call for 20 people. So there were 3 or 4 gurus and a lot of early career researchers. And what was fascinating about that session was that the younger researchers said, this is amazing. I would never have gone up to Janet Smith, who is on this roundtable now, and had a conversation with them. And even if I'd have been in a roundtable in person, I might have felt a little bit of reticence about reaching out. But there is something about doing this from the safety of my own home or office that has really fostered connections. Mm-hmm. And so in that particular roundtable, I saw a couple of these gurus saying, sure, get in touch with me. I'd love to know more about your research. Tell me what you're... So I think in that way, that virtual engagement can be easier. And also the speed networking totally gives you the experience of the randomness of running into somebody by the bar and the coffee thing. And you can keep doing it, every 3 minutes or however long you set it for, so you can make very many connections.